Okay, here we are. And today we are continuing with our talk about alignment here on the Performing Horse with Elizabeth from Normandy Equine. Let me introduce you properly to Liz. Um, first of all, I'm so grateful that you found your way to our live. Please let us know where you're from in the comments and whether you are watching this live or in a replay. And Liz and I and the whole team, we're really on a mission to turn every horse into a happy, comfortable, healthy, willing partner so that they can perform at the top of their genetic potential while at ease, happy, calm, and fully present. Now, if your horse is already there, these lives may not be for you. Then you can watch for fun. But if you have a horse that is a little bit of a difficulty for you, then by all means, watch these lives. What we're doing is we're really raising the awareness of the equestrian by changing paradigms, teaching training methods, and promoting different modalities like the training methods developed by Elizabeth Van Ross, the founder of Normandy Equine, the Masterson method, other modalities, and our F2 activation, which is a very important role here as well. So Liz, for close to 30 years, Liz has been rehabilitating horses, re-educating horses, and training horses for different sport endeavors. She has worked all over the world with practically every kind of horse and horse people imaginable. In all that time, she has learned an immeasurable amount about horses and the people who ride them, educate and train them, and work with them. She has also learned a lot about herself. She has gathered many tools along the way, changed them, molded them, and experimented with them until she found those she wanted to keep and those she wanted to discard. She has also studied with the research findings of many others, also working to improve the welfare of the horse and therefore the safety of the rider. Such greats as Gilles Summerhayes, Jean-Luc Cornille, Jean-Marie Denois, Jill Stone, Hilary Clayton, Willem Beck, Andrew and Manuela McLean, Michael Peace, just to name a few. So during 7 years, she was employed by one of the most prestigious equine hospitals in the UK, the Liphook Equine Hospital. Managing the nursing team was her primary responsibility, and in addition, given her previous experience, she was asked to take on the role of in-house rehabilitation, and that was her role. She learned more in those 7 years working with some of the most talented vets and veterinary surgeons than in the previous 20 years of her career. So that said, Liz, let's continue our talk about alignment. And I'm super excited to hear about that and to hear your thoughts. Welcome.
Thank you. Well, thank you for that introduction. And yes, it's nice, I suppose, to give a little bit of background. Some of you watching this know me, so that's you know everything about my background, or most of it anyway. But for those of you who've never seen me before, it's nice to know that it's not just Monique and I, two friends at the barn chit-chatting about different things. There is a lot of background to what we're bringing to you. And one of the things that Monique said as well is that you know, a lot of the information that's on the internet, a lot of people end up sort of going backwards and forward as to whether they agree or disagree with what the people are saying. And that's great. As long as we're talking about horses, as far as I'm concerned, that's a really good thing. But what we're trying to do here is to bring you not into a change of the modality that is currently available. You know, what is being used at the moment may be working perfectly well for you and your horses, but there are a lot of people for whom it isn't. And I was one of those people. That's why I started on this, is because I really didn't like the way that I was being taught how to ride. I found it very aggressive. I found that there was a lot of pulling, a lot of kicking, and a lot of horses that didn't seem to be really willing and happy to do the work. And in my young imagination, I had always imagined that riding was just, you know, you get on and off you go, and the wind's in your hair, and you gallop along, and life is just beautiful, and your horse loves you and you love your horse, which was probably very naive of me. Yet that image has never left me, and that made me ask for more. I wanted to know more. I wanted to find out more. I thought there had to be more to it than just what was being offered me at that time. So what we're offering you now is, again, the sort of culmination of a lot of years of research and experience. Now, all of you watching have your own massive amounts of experience. You know, you've had different horses, you've had lots of lessons, you've trained with amazing people. So you have very clear and defined ideas of your own, and those are great as long as they're working. I don't mind any idea as long as the horse is not suffering and the rider is safe, because as far as I'm concerned, if a horse is suffering mentally, physically, or both, then the rider is in danger. That is when you're putting yourself on top of a very large animal who's really not very happy, or whose structures are not very sound. You know, they can fail. The structures can fail whilst you're riding, which has happened to me before. And that is not a very nice experience when, you know, your horse jumps and lands on the other side and can no longer hold himself up, so falls. It's really not very pleasant. Or a horse that mentally can't cope anymore, or who suddenly has a back spasm while you're on there and goes into a bucking fit. All of those sorts of things, as equestrians, we do experience it day in and day out. And I don't think it's normal. In fact, I know it's not normal. That kind of thing isn't normal. And when your horse is behaving that way, it's not because he's being bad. It's because he's trying to tell you something, that somewhere in his structures, something has gone wrong. And we do tend to just ignore it and just say, oh, you know, work him through it, or he's being bad, or he knows what I want and he's just being, you know, he's just doing it on purpose. Well, horses don't think that way. They just don't have the neural capacity to do that. So what we're trying to do here, what I'm trying to do, especially in giving you some of this research that I'm sharing with you, is to give you some options. We're not trying to change what is currently going on at all, because some of it works really well and all of it works for some people very well. But what we're trying to do is give you an alternative, and a simple one. I'm not trying to blind you with science. I could go on and on and on about biomechanics and anatomy and biology and, you know, physiology, etc., etc. But all of that, which I find fascinating and have studied for years and love, is not going to help you when you go out and look at your horse. You're not going to be able to explain to him that his brachiocephalic should be doing this, and that his longissimus dorsi should be doing that, and that his rectus abdominis should be doing this. And that is not going to help you. So what we're trying to do is just give you some really easy, simple stuff that you can go to the yard and go, right, horse, now I understand what happens when you will go to the right, but you won't go to the left. So that's what we're going to talk a little bit about today. And this is where alignment comes into play. So I've said it before in some of the other lives that horses are not natural circle makers. They do not understand the concept of a circle. So they could understand the concept of a round bucket. The bucket that they put their nose into to eat is round. So they can figure out that that is a circle within which we put our nose and we can find some food. But when it comes to actually maneuvering their body on a circle, it's not natural for them. And then a lot of people have said to me, but straight lines is natural to horses. And yes, if you look at a horse who has been compelled by a need of some kind, usually hunger, to go from one part of the yard, one part of the field to the other, he will go in what I would call a beeline. He goes from one point to the other without, you know, making circles on the way, or half passes, or jumps, or any of that kind of sort of thing. He just goes. But if you actually study what he's doing movement-wise, he's not actually maintaining a straight line. He will go a little bit to the left, and then he'll come back onto the line, and then he'll go a little bit to the right, and then he'll strike a path from that posture and go straight. And so if you're really analyzing how he makes him, you know, how he maneuvers himself from one point to the next, you'll find that he's not on a straight line. And this is exactly what you do. So let's say you're sitting in the living room and you want a cup of tea. You don't get up and analyze how you're going to get there. You don't even think about it. You just get up, you go. All you're thinking about is the cup of tea. You're going to have to boil the water, put your tea in your cup, blah, 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 blah. You know how to make a cup of tea. And then you go back and sit down and continue what you were doing. You never once thought about getting up and walking and how you walked, and you know, if you were putting more weight on your right leg or more weight on your left leg, or if there was any deviations, because any deviations that occurred, your brain took care of, so that you didn't bump into the table, or you didn't bump into the counter, or you didn't burn yourself. That's all done for you automatically. That's what your brain is there for, your subconscious. So you don't think about it. The only time human beings think about the way they move is usually as a baby. They have to think about it because they don't know how yet. So that's very much in the forefront of a baby's mind. If you're injured and recovering, all of a sudden, then you're really concerned about how you move. And having just, as you now know, I've just gone through a full hip replacement, which was quite you know, big thing in my life. I had to learn how to walk again. And then I was really conscious of how I was placing my feet to the ground and how not to fall, especially not to fall on the side of the hip, because I have a ceramic ball now. And if I fall on it the wrong way, it explodes. And then I have 6 months in a wheelchair, which I really don't want. So I had to be very conscious of how I moved. And then the other time that we are very conscious of how we move is when we're learning something new. So if you're learning, for example, I had a group of therapists came last year, equine therapists, who came for a clinic at my house, and we did yoga in the morning. And that was really for them to consciously get the idea of how complex it is for a horse to learn something new, because they had to learn not only how to do yoga moves, but we took them to the beach. So they had to do it on sand, which was really unstable as a surface to work off of. So they learned quite a bit about what it is to really think about movement and what you're doing with your body. So going back to circles, there must be a lot of you. I know it happened to me a lot when I was a young rider, that I'd get onto a horse, and normally 9 times out of 10, horses travel to the left far easier than they do to the right. So you would get on your horse and you would make a circle to the left, and that went relatively well. It was relatively comfortable, and everybody seemed to be quite happy about it, you and the horse. But then when you decided to go to the right, things were not so easy. All of a sudden, you had a strong, probably, desire to pull on the right rein because your horse was not easily making his circle to the right, and also a strong desire, I'd assume, to use your inside leg to kick him off of your leg, because it probably felt like he was kind of leaning on your leg as well. So what happens when that's happening? Well, when that's happening is because the horse is not in alignment. So the horse has deviated one way or the other. And I'm going to show you this on paper. I've made you some very simple little drawings, and then I will give you an explanation that you will be able to take to, of all places, not the yard, but the supermarket. You will go to the supermarket, and I'm going to give you a little thing to do, and you can try this out yourself, and then you're going to really understand physically what the horse is going through. So I'm going to change the view here so that I can show you my beautiful drawings. Now, keep in mind, I am an artist, so you'll be able to tell by these amazing drawings. So this first drawing, I'm trying to get it so that it doesn't give you that funny little wibble. So the first drawing that we've got, so this is a horse in alignment. So the triangle is the head, the shoulders, the withers are the rectangle, and then the big oval at the bottom is your horse's pelvis. So when a horse is in alignment, you've got head aligned with the shoulder right down through to the pelvis, like so, as you can see here. Now, if your horse starts to deviate to the left, It sometimes feels definitely clearly as though the shoulders are going left, but it may also feel as though the pelvis or the rear end is going to the inside and is falling in. Regardless of which is happening, always the thing to do is to bring the shoulders back to the inside. We will talk further about how that feels, because sometimes the theory sounds really good, but when you're up there on that horse, the feelings do change. So we'll go into that further at a later date. I can't give you all the information at once because it's just too much. So that's a horse deviating to the left. Now we've got a horse deviating to the right. So this is what most of you feel usually when you're on your horse. Because if the horse is holding his nose to the left and his shoulders to the right and his pelvis to the left, and this is quite exaggerated where I've drawn this so that it's very easy for you to see, your horse will feel comfortable to you going left, because as you can see, he's kind of creating a left hand, and I do not use this word, but we'll use it for today, bend to the left. So his nose is to the left, his shoulders are to the right, but his bum's to the left. So everything is aligned for him to go to the left. But if you can imagine taking this particular setup, so this body setup, but now you're taking it to the right, unless your horse does this, changes, so goes from this alignment to this one, which is still not correct, but it would make life a lot easier for you. You've now, you would then feel comfortable going to the right. But what the horse will do is he'll go in this configuration to the left, but then he'll keep the same configuration going to the right. So if you're doing that, then if he's doing that, then going to the right becomes very, very uncomfortable. So I am going to now, rather than really drill this into your head, I am going to go back so that we can chat face to face. There we go. And this is where I'm going to give you the little chore, not the little chore, the little test that you can do when you go to the supermarket. So what I'd like you to do is the next time you go shopping is to take one of the carts, and you're going to put quite a bit of food in there, quite a bit of stuff, so it's got some weight to it. And what I'd like you to do is stand right behind the cart, and when you're right behind your shopping cart, you can push it forward, no problem whatsoever, even if it's a bit heavy. You can push, you can turn to the left, so you get to the end of the aisle, you need to go left, you can turn it left. As long as the wheels aren't too wonky, that should be quite easy for you to do. And then you can turn it to the right, same thing. If you're standing right behind your shopping cart, going to the right, no problem. Again, if it's a little bit heavy because of the food you've put in there, it's a bit of a struggle, but you can still do it quite easily. So now what I'd like you to do, and maybe some people at the supermarket will look at you a bit strangely, but it's a good test. You're going to put your shopping cart to the left of you. So you will now stand to the right of your shopping cart. Rather than behind it, you're going to leave your shopping cart to the left and you're going to stand to the right. And now what you're going to find is that you can still push it straight. It's not as easy, but you still can go straight on. But what you are going to find is going to be a bit difficult is not going to the left. So going straight will be a bit difficult. Going to the left will be really easy. Absolutely not a problem whatsoever. Because of where you're standing, pushing it off to the left will be very, very easy. But now, if you push it to the end of the aisle, still standing to the right of it, and you need to go to the right, then it becomes much more difficult because you are in position actually to go left, not to go to the right. So don't think of it in exactly the same terms as your horse. This is just to give you a feel of what the horse is struggling with and why you then struggle. But if you have not figured out how to get this sorted out, now most trainers these days, because this is the accepted way to do this, will teach you all about how to get your horse into a corridor from your seat, leg, and rein, and that you've got to ride or even almost drive with your leg this horse through this imaginary corridor that you're making up with your legs and your hands. I'm sure that kind of is very familiar if you've taken any lessons. Well, that's all very well and good, but if the horse is struggling with his body, keeping in mind he hasn't decided to make circles, this is your desire, not his. So he's not even got an emotional attachment to wanting to make circles like we do. That's not in his head. In his head is, when I go left, which I've positioned myself to go left, that's kind of how I am. Everything's happy and easy, and my rider's easy and happy with me, brilliant. But now I want to go, now they're asking to go to the right. Well, this is awful, because I've balanced myself to go left, and now I'm being pulled out of balance because my rider's decided to go in the opposite direction. So the horse is going to resist because we're pulling him out of balance. And not only that, we haven't changed where his shoulders are. So his shoulders are right in the way of where it is that we want to go. And this is what you're going to feel when you go to the shopping, when you go to do your shopping and you try this little exercise I've given you to do with your shopping cart. So I hope some of you will give it a go. And if you do, I would love to hear how it felt, if it lit any light bulbs in your head. But one thing I can tell you for sure is that until you understand how to get your horse aligned, which we will be telling you how to do it eventually, but one little bit at a time. These are they're small lives, not big, long workshops. So we will be telling you how to do it. But, I've got to prep you guys mentally just as much as I prep my horses mentally before I ask them to do something physically. The mind must come first. If you try to do something physically without knowing what it is that you're doing, it usually makes it a lot more difficult. So this is a bit of mind prep for all of you. Now you saw on Gerda, my 9.5 hand mini Shetland, those points of alignment. So you can go and have a look at those as well with your horse and just watch them move. Again, just keep watching your horses move. I watch my horses all the time, take my coffee out in the morning to greet them and say hi, and just watch them, just see where, which one is doing what, and are they all left-handed, or maybe you've got a right-handed one in your group, which is unusual. They're usually left-handed, but there's the occasional right-handed one. So that's it for today. So I hope you're going to have a bit of fun with that. I hope you enjoyed my incredibly beautiful drawings. But again, we're doing this for simplicity and making it as easy for you to follow along as possible without blinding you with science and without making it long and boring. We're trying to make it quite fun and easy to understand. So, but if you do have any questions, or if anything, you need clarification on anything, please let us know. Okay.
I love this, Liz. Thank you so much. I am going to the grocery store. I'm going to fill up my cart, and I know, especially, I noticed this difficulty with carts when I had lower back problems. That's when it becomes really clear that you have to, first of all, have a cart with 4 wheels that work, but that you have to keep it in alignment. Otherwise, you're twisting your back the wrong way. Absolutely. So I'm looking forward to seeing all kinds of people in the grocery store making funny. Film it. Have your partner film it and put it in the comments.
You'll know who's been watching, that's for sure.
Yeah, and put this in the comments, make fun of it, have fun. That, I think that is a big thing. Lighten up, have fun, try it out, have your partner film it and put it in the comments.
That would be great. That would be great.
Awesome,
we are trying to have fun. It should be fun. Always be fun. It's not all serious. We don't have to be serious about it. We don't have to be conditioned to be like, oh my God, we have to do this and we have to do that. No. Just understanding and have fun. That's it.
Because that is what I notice with my horse specifically. If I come in a dark mood, he will definitely give me much more trouble than when I come lighthearted and have a good time. So anyways, thank you all for watching this. Let us know in the comments whether you watch this, first of all, where from. Where in the world are you? If you're watching live or the replay, and show us what you did with that shopping cart. I would love to see that. If you have any questions, post it in the comments. Again, the person that interacts the most gets an hour free long consultation with Liz. So at the end of the month.
And we've added to that, we will also be giving away to that very person For the Love of Horses tote bag, which I don't have. What do I have it in the office? Hang on just a second. I might, hang on.
Those are amazing. And Liz is an amazing artist. And we will keep you posted on that as well. There are some pieces of artwork that are coming up that will be for sale as a wait for us to, oh, there's the bag. You get one free. And again, her artwork is coming up for sale soon as a way to finance this whole operation. We're going to have it here at her place. So if you want to go to France, beautiful Normandy, that would be amazing. And we want to get Liz here to the United States for some clinics. So if you are enjoying these, if you would like to have a hands-on clinic with Liz, let us know and we'll see what we can organize.
Brilliant.
Have a great week, everybody. A great few days. We'll be back very soon.
Okay, take care. Bye.
Take care.